You know that feeling like it is 5 p.m. on a Friday.
Oh, yeah. The Friday wall.
Exactly, the Friday wall. You are sitting at your desk, you are staring at a screen, and you are just utterly exhausted. I mean, completely tapped out. You have been running on all cylinders since you logged on Monday morning. But then you look back at your calendar, you look at your sent folder, and you realize you cannot point to a single tangible decision you actually drove.
Right, or a piece of strategy you actually moved forward.
Exactly. You survived the week, but you didn't advance a single thing. And today we are tearing apart a brilliant new deep dive from C3 centricity to figure out why that specific hollow exhaustion is happening and why treating busyness as a career strategy is about to become a fatal flaw in the consumer packaged goods industry.
Yeah, it really is a systemic issue across the entire sector right now. The insights we are unpacking today come from Denyse Drummond-Dunn's latest blog post, which is part of her Marketing Deep Dives series.
Right.
And Denyse is a global expert in helping CPG executives reignite momentum in their careers and their companies. She is arguing that mid-level leaders have to fundamentally redefine how they amplify their impact.
Yeah.
Because we are moving from an era where sheer activity and endurance were rewarded to an environment where only true measurable impact keeps you relevant.
Okay, let's unpack this, because reading through Denyse's breakdown, I started thinking about this analogy. It is like the traditional CPG career ladder is a treadmill.
Oh, I like that.
Right. Like the faster you run or, the more meetings you attend, the more people assume you are moving forward, even if you are technically just stuck in the exact same place, sweating.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Or another way to look at it, it's like how a computer works. You have the RAM, which holds short-term memory and shuttles data back and forth as fast as possible.
Right.
And then you have the CPU, the processor, which actually performs the complex logic and makes the calculations. Right now, a massive portion of CPG managers are acting as the system's RAM. You are holding context from a 9 a.m. meeting, passing it to an email thread at 10 a.m., updating a slide deck at noon. You are moving data constantly, keeping the machine humming, but you are being paid to be the processor.
That analogy cuts right to the heart of it. Acting as the RAM gives you this illusion of momentum. But Denyse provides some really vital historical context for why the CPG industry trained its leaders to act this way in the first place, right?
She does. For decades, working relentlessly hard and carrying your team under immense pressure, essentially acting as the ultimate conduit for all that information, that was the unwritten rule for promotion.
The golden ticket.
Exactly. If you had a completely packed calendar, it signaled to leadership that you are reliable. You never drop the ball.
Which makes sense from a legacy management perspective, I guess. I mean, managers noticed the sheer effort. They saw you online at 8 p.m. answering questions. Teams learned to value that steady, reliable consistency over, flashy, unpredictable results.
Right.
That emphasis on being the reliable one, the person who could catch every stray email and fix every minor crisis, it shaped leadership decisions for years because activity is very easy to measure.
It is.
But value and impact are much harder to measure.
But the data shows that this specific model of reliability is now completely breaking the workforce. Denyse points to the Microsoft 2025 Work Trend Index to prove this.
And this is a huge study, right?
Massive. 31,000 people surveyed across 31 countries. And the numbers reveal a glaring, just unsustainable disconnect. 53% of leaders are demanding higher productivity right now.
Wow.
Yet 80% of the workforce reports being completely tapped out. They do not have a single drop of extra energy to give.
80%. That is wild. And the mechanism behind that exhaustion is what really caught my attention. It isn't just that people are working longer hours. The same Microsoft report clocked a statistic that actually made my jaw drop.
Yeah, I know the one you mean.
The average employee is interrupted by a meeting, an email, or a chat ping every 2 minutes during the workday.
What's fascinating here is that when you break down the cognitive science of that, it means deep work is literally impossible.
Right.
It takes an average of 20 minutes for the human brain to refocus on a complex task after a single interruption. So if you are interrupted every 2 minutes, you are existing in a state of permanent cognitive fragmentation.
But I have to play devil's advocate here for a second, though.
Sure.
If someone is getting pinged every 2 minutes by their team or their cross-functional partners, aren't they just proving how essential they are to the day-to-day operations? Like if the supply chain glitches, they call this manager, If marketing needs a budget approval yesterday, they ping this manager.
Yeah.
Isn't being the absolute go-to person in a crisis a very real form of impact?
Well, it feels like impact, certainly. It is incredibly validating to be needed constantly.
Yeah, it strokes the ego a bit.
Exactly. But Denyse makes a critical distinction here. Effort and rapid responsiveness are no longer proof of value. They are symptoms of a highly inefficient, broken system.
Oh, wow.
You are being rewarded for being a very fast human router of information, like you said, the RAM, rather than being rewarded for actual decision-making.
Right.
The industry trained people to point to a packed agenda as evidence of their worth. A retailer meeting at 9 a.m., an innovation review at 10, a claims discussion, a global deck rewrite. Everyone is doing something.
Right, but are they moving the needle?
Exactly.
Yep.
Because of those 2-minute interruptions, nobody has the cognitive space to ask if that specific something actually moves the business forward.
But the real reason this responsiveness trap is becoming fatal today isn't just because of burnout, right? It's because the exact thing mid-level managers are doing to look busy, the drafting, the summarizing, the routing of data, that is the exact thing a machine can now do in 3 seconds.
Yes.
Which brings us to the Deloitte 2026 Consumer Products Industry Outlook that Denyse references.
Right. And the Deloitte data lays out the transition painfully clearly. Artificial intelligence is systematically taking over what we can call technocratic marketing work.
Okay, define that for us.
So it drafts the first version of the retailer update. It can ingest thousands of consumer reviews and synthesize the key pain points in seconds. It takes a sprawling, unfocused 2-hour Zoom call and instantly generates a 1-page action list with assigned owners.
And I mean, the immediate reaction from most managers is usually relief, right?
Oh, absolutely.
People hate doing that administrative legwork.
Yeah.
The promise has always been that automating the busy work frees up product managers to be these entrepreneurial, consumer-obsessed creators again.
That is the best case scenario.
Mm.
But it is also a massive existential threat to anyone whose entire corporate identity is tied to being the reliable coordinator.
Yeah.
Think about the mechanism of promotion up until now. If AI completely removes the coordination work that historically made you look busy and essential, well, what are you left with to prove your value?
It is like being a highly paid toll booth operator when the highway just installed an automatic scanner.
Yes, exactly.
Nobody is going to reward you for collecting the coins faster. They're going to ask why you are still sitting in the booth at all. If the AI just upgraded the system's RAM and you aren't processing new strategic logic, you are completely obsolete.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to promote a manager in 2026 for drafting a retailer update slightly faster than ChatGPT. They are going to ruthlessly examine what you are doing with the 4 hours that drafting used to take.
And this is where the concept of fake impact becomes so incredibly dangerous.
Fake impact, yeah.
When AI automates the drafting and the summarizing, that fake impact doesn't just disappear. It retreats. It finds a new place to hide.
Oh, that's interesting. Where does it go?
Right now, it is hiding in the calendar. Meetings are the last refuge for people who want to look busy without having to make hard decisions.
Wow.
Denyse draws a very sharp line here. A meeting that changes a decision is worth having. A meeting that exists simply because nobody has made the decision clear enough is a massive organizational drain.
And CPG calendars are absolutely choked with that second kind. The sync meetings, the alignment meetings.
Oh, constantly.
And to illustrate just how deep this rot goes, Denyse pulls in a case study from Shopify. Now, obviously, it is not a CPG company, but the mechanics of what they did are universal. At the start of 2023, Shopify executed a massive, ruthless calendar purge.
They really did.
They deleted 12,000 recurring meetings that involved 3 or more people, and they instituted no meeting Wednesdays.
And by their own internal audit, that single move freed up 322,000 hours across the company in 1 year.
322,000 hours, that is staggering.
The average meeting time per person dropped 14% in just the first 5 months. But the most revealing part of that Shopify case study isn't the raw hours saved.
Okay, what is it?
It is the fact that those 12,000 meetings were never rebuilt. The business didn't collapse. In fact, velocity increased because the underlying lesson is that time spent in unproductive alignment has a hidden, highly corrosive financial cost.
Right, because, CPG teams know the exact margin hit of a delayed factory shipment down to the cent. If raw materials jump in price, alarm bells go off across the entire supply chain.
Immediately.
But there's no profit and loss line item for 8 mid-level managers spending 3 weeks circling a packaging decision because nobody wants to take the risk of making a firm call. The money just quietly evaporates.
It does. And we have a terrifying cautionary tale from within the CPG world to prove how catastrophic that evaporation can be.
Kraft-Heinz merger.
Yes, the Kraft-Heinz merger of 2015.
This is the ultimate example of mistaking frantic activity for strategic impact.
Exactly. When Kraft and Heinz merged, the new leadership implemented zero-based budgeting across the board.
And for those who might not know, the mechanism of zero-based budgeting means every single dollar of expense has to be justified from zero every single year.
Right.
Rather than just carrying forward last year's budget and tweaking it a little bit.
Yeah, so on paper, for the first 15 months, it looked like a masterclass in efficiency. Overhead dropped dramatically from 18% down to 11%.
You can just picture the culture inside the building during those 15 months, right? Everyone must have felt incredibly productive. Meetings all day about cost reduction, spreadsheets multiplying like rabbits, entire teams dedicated to pointing at a cell on a screen and showing a number moving in the right direction.
They were very busy proving their efficiency. The mechanism of survival in that culture became defending your specific budget, line by line.
Right.
But because all that cognitive load was directed entirely inward at internal spreadsheets, they completely stopped looking outward at the consumer.
Oh, no.
By February 2019, the reality of that neglected strategy hit. The company had to take a $15.4 billion write-down on its Kraft and Oscar Mayer brands.
$15.4 billion.
The stock plummeted 27% in a single day.
A $15 billion blind spot. Because while they were incredibly busy cutting costs, they completely stopped investing in the brand equity.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the organization had become lean, but it had not become strong.
Yeah.
Nobody at Kraft-Heinz during that period was lazy. They were working incredibly hard. But they were busy proving efficiency, while the much harder judgment calls, like, noticing that consumer tastes were shifting away from processed foods and deciding how much investment a heritage brand actually needed to stay relevant, those decisions went completely unmade.
Right.
Activity had a number attached to it. True impact was ignored until it resulted in a catastrophic write-down.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. When I was reading through Denyse's original post on this Kraft-Heinz example, I noticed something quite funny, but also deeply telling. She actually left a placeholder in her own text.
Oh, I saw that too.
It literally says, in brackets, Denyse, insert a short story here, ideally from Nestle Gillette or Philip Morris, about a moment when impact came from a sharper decision rather than from more hours worked.
It is a brilliant little meta moment to catch in a published piece.
It is, because even though it's an editing note she accidentally left in, it proves her overarching thesis perfectly. She knows that she could randomly select almost any major global CPG player, Nestle, Gillette, Philip Morris, and find the exact same systemic failure.
Absolutely.
This isn't just a Kraft-Heinz problem. This is an industry-wide epidemic. Every major legacy brand is fighting this culture of equating hours worked with value delivered.
Which is exactly why Denyse argues we have to throw out the old metrics and redefine what impact actually looks like in practice.
Yeah.
If it is not a packed calendar and it's not a hyper-optimized spreadsheet defending a budget, what is it? She is very clear up front. Amplify. Your impact does not mean self-promotion.
That is such a relief to hear, honestly, because highly competent managers deeply recoil from anything that feels like gross personal branding or, performative corporate cheerleading on LinkedIn.
It has nothing to do with shouting about your achievements.
Yeah.
Her core definition is focused entirely on leverage.
Leverage.
Impact is when the value you create travels significantly further than the hours you put into creating it. It is a multiplier effect.
Got it.
Real impact happens when a strategic decision gets sharper because you took the time to clarify the root issue rather than just treating the symptom.
Right.
It happens when you hand over a tough judgment call to a junior colleague so they can build their own capability instead of just quietly redoing their work yourself on a Sunday night because it's faster.
Or when a senior leader trusts your recommendation and immediately allocates funding because you did the hard, unglamorous work of connecting the consumer insight, the retailer reality, and the business consequence into one undeniable logical through line.
Exactly. This specific capability is why Amplify Your Impact is a distinct standalone rung in Denyse's ladders framework.
Right, the ladders framework.
The framework is targeted heavily at mid-level CPG managers because they occupy this incredibly perilous position.
Yeah.
They are often the most valuable, least visible, and most exhausted people in the entire corporate structure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They are overused because they are reliable, but their careers stall because reliability alone no longer announces itself as leadership potential.
So how do you know if you are stuck in this specific trap? Denyse outlines 5 warning signs that your week is entirely full, but your actual impact is totally flat. Let's just break these down, because I think the mechanisms behind these traps are going to feel very familiar to our listeners.
Definitely.
Warning sign number 1. You are in meetings for context, not for judgment.
Think about the classic 14-person Zoom call. 12 people are on mute, off camera, just listening so they know what is going on.
Yeah.
If you are regularly attending meetings just to absorb information, rather than to make a call or offer strategic direction, you are acting as a very expensive tape recorder.
Warning sign number 2. You spend more time preparing updates than you do shaping decisions.
Yes.
This happens when the sheer volume of reporting, the weekly trackers, the monthly business reviews, the quarterly check-ins, it just eats the time you should be using to actually analyze the data and propose a pivot.
Exactly. Then warning sign number 3. Your team leans on you to absorb complexity, rather than leaning on you to question whether that complexity is necessary in the first place.
Oh, it's such a trap.
It is. You become a sponge, taking on everyone else's chaotic processes, instead of acting as a filter who says, we actually don't need this step at all.
Right. Warning sign number 4. People are incredibly grateful for your help, but they are no more capable because of it.
Yeah.
You are stepping in to fix their immediate problems, which makes you feel like a hero in the moment, but you aren't teaching them how to solve it themselves next time.
And finally, warning sign number 5. You end the week completely exhausted, and you cannot name one single decision that improves specifically because you were in the room.
Ouch.
If these scenarios resonate, Denyse is very clear that it does not make you a bad manager.
Right.
It makes you a manager trapped inside a legacy system that still rewards responsiveness and penalizes deep thinking. But with AI rapidly changing the landscape, the risk of staying in that trap is accelerating.
So what does this all mean for the person listening right now? I mean, if you recognize yourself in those warning signs, how do you actually fix it without just creating more work for yourself?
Denyse's prescription is wonderfully counterintuitive. Do not go out and buy a new productivity system.
Okay, good.
Do not download a new time tracking app. Instead, you need to conduct a 1-week, brutally honest audit of your own time.
Just watch yourself work for a single week and track the reality of your output.
Yes. Run 3 specific checks. First, the calendar check. Look at every meeting you attended. Which ones actually resulted in a changed decision versus which ones just felt vaguely useful for alignment? Second, the team check. Who on your team actually became more capable this week because you forced them to exercise their own judgment rather than just doing a task for them?
Love that one.
And third, the influence check. Does your strategic influence travel to rooms that you are not physically sitting in?
The influence check is brilliant because if your ideas only matter when you are actively talking, you haven't built a strategy, you've just built a performance.
Right.
But the goal of this audit isn't just to make you feel terrible about your calendar. It is about actionable change.
Exactly. The value of the audit is in doing just one thing differently the following week. Say no to a pointless context meeting. Delegate one specific growth task to a junior team member and refuse to rescue them if they struggle.
I have to ask a practical question about the reality of doing this, though. Saying no to a meeting sounds incredibly empowering in theory. But in a highly corporate, highly political CPG environment, isn't there a massive political risk to stepping back from the table? Like if you aren't visible in those cross-functional alignment meetings, don't you risk losing your influence or seeming like you aren't a team player?
That specific fear is what keeps everyone trapped on the treadmill.
Yeah.
But we have to look at what senior leadership actually values. Stepping back from the daily noise is the exact mechanism that allows you to step forward with clear recommendations.
Oh, I see.
A VP or a general manager does not value the person who is simply present and visible in every single room. They value the person who can synthesize the chaos and present a clear, actionable path forward.
Right.
When you say no to the context meetings, you are reclaiming the cognitive space required to formulate the high-level judgment that senior leaders actually trust and promote. You are trading visibility in the weeds for visibility at the strategic level.
That is a crucial reframe. And if you are listening right now and you want to know exactly where your own impact is getting stuck, you need to take the next step. Denyse has a fantastic 10-minute ladders quiz linked directly in her post.
It's a great tool.
It will show you exactly which of the 7 leadership rungs is holding your career back. Before we wrap up, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and you absolutely must visit c3centricity.com for more brilliant insights just like this. While you are there, book a free business makeover session with Denyse Drummond-Dunn herself to really reignite that momentum in your career and your company.
It is highly recommended. Because as we look to the future of the CPG industry, redefining impact leaves us with one incredibly complex question that we haven't solved yet.
Let's hear it.
If we successfully use AI to eliminate all this busy work, and we wipe out 300,000 hours of coordination meetings across a CPG organization, well, what happens to the junior employees? If mid-level managers transition entirely to high-level strategic judgment, how does the next generation actually learn the ropes without the technocratic grunt work that used to be their fundamental training ground?